This public hearing is for Council Order 2025-005. This is about utility grant of location, Mass Electric Company, Hannon Parkway, and McConville Way. So at this point, I'd like to ask anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposition to come to the podium, state your name and address. If you do not wish to speak, but would like your support or opposition recorded, please sign in on the sheet on the table at the back of the chamber. So anybody who would like to speak in favor or against this grant of location, Mass Electric? Okay. Seeing no further public comment, I will close this public hearing at 6:30, and we will resume again with the regular council meeting, which will start at 6:35. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ash. Councilor Campbell. Present. Councilor Devine. Councilor DeBona. Present. Councilor Harris. Councilor Liang. Present. Councilor McCarthy. Present. Councilor Minton. Present. President Kane.
Present.
9 members, yes.
Would everyone please join me and stand for a moment of silence? Please use this moment as you will. Please turn to the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please read the open meeting law.
Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, first item on the agenda, please.
Number 1, 2024-139, in order, correction of home rule petition, Quarry Hills, extension of existing lease.
Thank you. The President recognizes Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before you tonight is a corrected version of the home rule petition that was approved by 8 to nothing. I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yes.
What you see before you tonight relative to the first version is the result of a minor Scribner's error in how it was sent up to the State House. Essentially what happened was, while the council voted to change the language in the actual lease relative to the initial proposal that included that option to buy that we all discussed, that language was not included in the actual order that was sent to the legislature. And this was due in large part to the fact that this body spent a good deal of time, a lot of work, together with the administration. And the focus of that discussion was on the lease itself, not necessarily the procedural order that went to the State House. So what this does, we did have some discussions with the folks at the State House, and there was some initial discussion that those changes of the Scribner's nature could be changed through the legislative process at Beacon Hill. There was agreement between our office, the Solicitor's Office, and the folks at the State House that it would just be cleaner and more efficient if we made those alterations here at the council body. So what is before you tonight is a cleaner version, better reflects the council's will through its vote originally, and with the amended version of it, we will send back up to the State House for a full hearing with the legislature and ultimately to the governor's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Any questions from my colleagues? President recognizes Councilor Ash.
Through you, thank you, Mr. President. I understand we have, I'm sure, a few folks here that are interested in this agenda item. I know I've received a few requests for a clean version of the actual lease, and I'm wondering if that is obtainable so that the public can see the differences between the lease as first proposed and then the lease as approved by this body last month.
Through you, Mr. President, of course. My thought was that was up on the website, but if it's not, we'll get it there.
Okay, it may be. I may be looking in the wrong place, but I just wanted to see if that was somewhere that could be obtained from. And then I believe, Mr. Walker, is the home rule petition does not include the actual lease as sent up to the State House, is that correct?
That is correct, Counselor. The legislature will debate and vote on the extent, on what's in the home rule petition, not word for word the lease. Of course, their input relative to the lease, it'll be a lot like what transpired at this body. If legislators have input relative to the actual lease, they have that ability. But ultimately, and as you read in the order is very brief itself. It does not contain a lot of detail, does not contain a lot of specifics. It essentially relates to the extension of the lease that already exists. That being said, we do expect to have a discussion with the legislature relative to some of the meat on the bone within the lease itself.
Thank you.
President recognizes Mr. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with Councilor Ash. A clean copy would be, I know I've seen what has been pulled out, and a clean copy would be good for both the public and ourselves to absorb, but I'd like to make a motion as amended, as submitted on this change tonight.
A motion to a motion to approve as amended?
As amended, as submitted, that will go into the State House.
Okay. Motion to approve as amended as submitted made by Councilor McCarthy. Do I have a second on that? Seconded by Councilor Harris. Thank you, Councilor Harris. On the motion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell. Yes. Counselor Devine. Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Yes. Counselor Liang. Yes. Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton. Yes. President Kane.
Yes.
8 members.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Number 2, 2025-006, an appropriation for $475,000 for fire department new firefighter recruits turnout gear.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. President recognizes Mr. Walker.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Before you this evening is a request of $475,000 that will fund the gear and some training supplies for our newest class of firefighters that will be starting the academy in a month or so. We expect this class to be between 35 and 40 men and women, about half of which come from, as this body knows, a recent federal grant, thank you to Congressman Lynch, and the other half will be to fill upcoming needs to keep us at full manpower, as this body and the mayor have described it over the last several years. Again, this will keep our staffing levels at the highest level they've been in decades. It puts us in a place that will have the most robust fire department in Massachusetts, any city in Massachusetts with the exception of Worcester and Boston. That is an incredibly strong statement about the commitment this community, through the mayor and together with this body, has made over the last number of years to ensure that our residents have the very best public safety resources of virtually anywhere in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's a commitment even more worthy of highlighting when we look at recent events in California that show just how critical our fire services are to the livelihood of a community. I know Councilor DeBona is going to be talking with the fire chief a little later in the meeting about wildfire preparedness, but I can say without talking out of school, as not a professional in that business, that the absolute #1 resource necessary for any major incident, disaster, or emergency is quite literally manpower. The more manpower, the better apt we are to able to handle any kind of issue that comes to this city. We've been able to do this together, adding a new ladder company, expanding the available men on our existing equipment, ensuring that all apparatus are available 24/7. It does have real-world impacts, and we see that virtually every major fire that we've had over the last couple of years has ended up being a major save. Even just recently, there was a fire on Chubbuck Street. Certainly, something that the homeowner and the family there displaced are going to be dealing with, and I know Councilor Ash is working on some recovery efforts. But without question, had the fire department not responded with the complement that we had and the amount of time that we had, that fire very easily, in a lot of other places, would have spread considerably further than it did. And that's a direct result of the work that the fire department does on a daily basis, obviously, but the resources that this body, together with the mayor, have provided the fire department. I want to thank the council again for working together in tandem with the mayor, the fire chief, and our friends in Local 792, the Quincy Firefighters Association, as we look forward to welcoming this new class. Chief Jackson is here at the podium to answer any technical questions you may have, and I'm happy to answer any of those questions. You will note that the appropriation request is $475,000. The chief's memo relates directly to $451,000. The difference, and the chief can explain this a little bit, is that he's got a line on a spare engine in Cambridge that we think we can get for short money, and that's where we've put that extra $25,000 in this appropriation to help secure the funding the chief can get, as he's been very successful in the past, getting some spare equipment in other places to put to use here in the city of Quincy. So that's the difference you'll see between the appropriation and the memo and the accompanying backup information that the chief has provided. With that, I'm sure the chief is happy to answer any questions the body may have.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you. Good evening, Council President. Good evening, councilors. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Chief of Staff Walker put it better than I ever could. Thank you to so many people, the mayor, Congressman Lynch, the council, Local 792, our grant writers, Lieutenant Jerry Murphy, our business manager, Chris Folan, Evan Harrington, Al Trin. There's so many people that have stepped up, and again, Chris is absolutely right. We're the best funded, most progressive department in the state, and that's not my opinion. That's a fact, and this is just another example of that. So to Mr. Walker's point about this number coming in at 451, so we have a line on a couple of spare engines that Cambridge Fire is getting rid of. I'm looking to pick up both of them for $25,000, and I think I'm going to be able to get that done as soon as tomorrow. I'll start having conversations with the Cambridge Fire Chief. I've been waiting to hear from them for the last couple of weeks, and it hasn't happened. I know that he's been very busy, but I don't have anything to pass on to the council with any kind of a pricing, but I'm hoping to get... So the way that this is working is we have 3 spare engines right now. 2 of them are pretty much falling apart. They're in really, really bad shape. Our mechanics have done a fantastic job keeping them on the road for as long as they have been, but they're starting to fall apart. So Cambridge has 2 engines. One of them, the motor is in really good shape, but the truck is not. The other is the exact opposite. So I'm looking to pick up both of these trucks, put the good motor with the good truck, and we'll pirate the other truck for scrap, for lights, for whatever we can get off of it in the meantime. But I suspect I can secure both of those pieces for $25,000, so that's why it's a bit shy anyway. So thank you again for having me tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve made by Councilor Liang, seconded by Councilor Campbell. On the motion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell. Yes. Counselor Devine. Yes. Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Yes. Counselor Liang. Yes. Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Mr. President, could I put agenda item number 4 to the next item?
Can you put that in the form of a motion?
Can I put that in a form of motion to move that up?
Yep. Motion to move number 4, 2025-008, before number 3, 2025-007. Can I get a second? Councilor Harris, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Number 4, 2025-008, a resolve on wildfire preparedness.
President recognizes Councilor DeBona.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chief Jackson, for being here tonight. I just wanted to, just first off, I want to, my thoughts and prayers go out to the 27 people that have died due to the wildfires in Los Angeles and Southern California area. The fires have destroyed more than 13,600 structures, and tens of thousands of people have been forced to move, forced from their homes. Tonight, I bring forward a wildfire preparedness resolution. I'm just going to read it in, and then I'm going to ask Chief if he has any comments. The recent wildfires in California have exposed a lack of fire prevention and protection resources in those impacted communities, resulting in death and destruction. The city of Quincy contains 1,500 acres of densely forested land in the Blue Hill Reservation. The Blue Hills directly abut several residential neighborhoods and important emergency communications infrastructure. It also abuts towns of Milton and Canton, as well as Braintree and Randolph. The sufficient staffing, training, and materials of the Quincy Fire Department is necessary to protect the public from the threat of wildfire. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Quincy City Council hold a meeting to discuss wildfire preparedness with the Quincy Fire Department, Quincy Police Department, Emergency Management Department, and the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, DCR. Before, I'd like to just put this in a form of a motion to approve, as well as referring to the Oversight Committee. But since we have Chief Jackson here tonight, I'd like to see if he would like to have just a few comments. And I know I've talked to you offline about this, as well as President Tom Bowes from your also local. So if I could, Mr. President, if I can open it up to the chief.
Chief?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Counselor, and thank you for entertaining this. Yeah, there couldn't be a better time to come up here and speak about this. And again, to piggyback on what Counselor DeBona said, our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody in California that suffered these incredible losses. The stars have really aligned in such a despicable way out there for something like this to happen. And yeah, to be honest, every year our budget gets approved, I sit down with the deputy chiefs and with our training division, and we talk about how best to allocate these resources and prioritize. And response to the Blue Hills is always part of that discussion. And we have been accruing over the last 5 years that I've been chief some, equipment. We've been building a cache for our response up there. And as far as response up there for a land response and for air response as well, we have so many resources that we can call upon, both through Norfolk County and through the Metro Chiefs Association. We can call in 15 to 30 strike teams. I mean, we can get more resources than we would know what to do with, honestly. And it's something that we review every single year. We're in a really good position in that regard. As far as our cache of reserves of supplies, while we're up here talking about this, if Chief of Staff Walker would be agreeable to it, I'd like to put together a short list. So here's the thing is, with what's going on now in California, as you can imagine, LA County has such incredible purchasing power. Firefighter turnouts, nozzles, hose lines, all this is going to be bought up. It's going to be probably a year before we can see any of this stuff. And if we could get an order in sooner rather than later, I could get you some prices, and that would be very, very much appreciated. But I know that they have wiped the slate clean as far as supplies, and justifiably so. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Other than that, I don't really know. We have, just as a kind of an interesting fact, I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, but we have a mutual aid agreement with the Canadian government, specifically with Quebec. You've seen these CL-415 planes. They skim across the water. They fill up their belly with 1,600 gallons of water, and they dump this or whatever. We have access to one of these through a mutual aid agreement with Quebec. We can get one of these planes here within an hour and a half, dropping on the fire. And if the water supply is within 10 minutes of the fire, which it's most likely going to be if they're picking up in Quincy Bay, for example, they're going to be dumping 26,000 gallons an hour on the fire up there in Blue Hills, if it ever came to that. Usually, if we do need air support, we go to the state police. They put their helicopter up and they'll make bucket drops. Their bucket holds like 250 gallons of water, but it usually doesn't come to anything other than that. But as far as ground and air resources, we take it very seriously, and we can call on a lot. I mean, we can get a lot of resources at our disposal within a couple of hours if the situation calls for it. So we're in a pretty good position that way. So.
Thank you, Chief. And really, at the end of the day, as this body, the city of Quincy, we have your back. And that's why I put this forward here tonight, to know that we as a body here collectively, hopefully, with passage tonight and referred to Oversight Committee for future discussions,
yeah,
we have your back.
No, I know that you do, and I appreciate it very much. I appreciate you and Councilor Devine and all the support of the councilors, and Chris Walker hit the nail on the head. It's the staffing that puts these fires out. It really is. The manpower has made such a huge difference. I mean, does it up the budget? Yes, it does. I totally understand that. But we have saved millions of dollars in property since we've upped these manpower counts. That's a fact, so, yeah, so anyways, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
President recognizes Counselor Devine.
Thank you for coming out tonight and giving us all this information. We see that you have some Motorola's here, the portables.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I swing into the West Quincy Firehouse and, chat with the firemen, the captain and everything. And the last time I was in there about a month and a half ago, we had a conversation about that sometimes there's dead spots. I don't think anyone realizes how far the city limit goes. It goes along the highway, and your team has to respond. And so I was hoping with this resolve with Blue Hills that we can possibly look into some type of repeater or something to make their portables stronger.
We actually just increased our coverage through a grant that Senator Keenan helped us procure. We actually just got 2 new repeaters that we're relying on right now, and it's buffed up our coverage significantly. We're in a much better place now than we were just 6 months ago.
Oh, okay, good.
So that's a box that has been checked. Our coverage is much, much better than it was. We're doing pretty good in that regard. But
Okay.
thank you, I appreciate it. It's interesting that you keep an eye on that. Most people find that stuff pretty boring, but I
It's
appreciate it.
important. It's not just important to the firefighters themselves, but if there was a car accident on,
Yeah.
on the highway, every second counts, and if they have to go back to the truck to use the truck radio,
Right.
that could be minutes.
Absolutely.
Easy. So I feel it's a major safety concern,
Yes, absolutely.
but you're already on it, so next time I'll try and be quicker.
I love it, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Devine. Where's the closest domestic airplane? You mentioned that we have a mutual aid agreement with
So
Quebec.
that's the CL-415, that's the closest location for one of those.
No one in the U.S. has one.
No, not that I'm aware of. That's why we have that MOU with them.
That's
So
crazy,
yeah,
right?
that's the closest one. And I did Google it, and that is the fact.
Wow.
Yeah. I talked to our District 4 Fire Warden, Karen Lothrop, and we have a great relationship. We go back and forth all the time during the burning season, and I called her just to confirm this MOU is still active, and that is in fact the closest airplane of that type that we have access to, and she said, yeah, it is, and I confirmed that it is, so.
That's wild. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
Counselor DeBona made a motion to approve and to put this into oversight. Do I have a second? Counselor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell. Yes. Counselor Devine.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Yes. Counselor Liang. Yes. Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Next is number 3, 2025-007, a resolve for Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
President recognizes Counselor Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is, it's an introduction, I guess, of an order that I think is important. There is a lot going on in this world, and to me, I think we build a community based off of something that we can hopefully keep the residents who have grown up here, who have lived here, and who, want to spend the rest of their time in this area, that we can try to find ways to make the way to stay here easier, better, more efficient. There's a lot of ways to do that. I think obviously financially, we want to try to help them in any way we can. The city right now has an affordable housing trust that has gathered over time a lot of money. The exact number, I'm not sure what it is, but I know that we can get that information as soon as we start down this path. But the hope is that we can turn that fund into something that we can use to help families who are looking to stay here, who are looking to build upon their homesteads, build upon their futures. And, if there's a way to take that money and turn it into almost a revolving account where they could, low-interest borrowing can happen from families and find different ways to make that money so it's working for the city and making these neighborhoods better, because if they're able to improve their homestead, it's only going to improve the neighborhood. So it really is a kind of a win-win for everybody here. I don't want to get too specific, but I do think that is a start. I know that planning, I've talked to Jim Fatsis over planning. We have Jimmy Scribby, who's really an expert at getting grants for ways to help people take advantage of maybe the leverage that we have as a city and use that time to use that resources that we have to help improve. Now, I think that there's a few things that are already in place, and I think that having the planning department and those who are in it to explore different avenues, as for instance, through resolutions or through communications. If there are currently ways for older generations and younger generations to take advantage of some of the clean, healthy homes, Office of Healthy Homes, I believe we said it was, yeah. Office of Healthy Homes, there are resources available, and I think whether we, really try to dig deeper onto that, or we just make people aware that that's there, that I'm hoping that this resolution can help push that to the next step. So I would like to see if I could do this in form of a motion to send it to the Oversight Committee and the Housing Committee.
Great.
And hopefully have some chance to unfold this a little bit.
Thank you, Councilor Campbell. Motion to approve and to put into Oversight and Housing, seconded by Councilor Liang. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Counselor Campbell.
Yes.
Counselor Devine.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona. Yes. Counselor Harris. Counselor Liang. Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Number 5, 2025-009, a resolve accounting with purchasing review.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We've all heard about the unfortunate circumstance of a former city employee that was pilfering from the city coffers. And this is a resolution that seeks to ask that the city provide, I guess, an accounting of that circumstance, but also to ensure the city that situations like this cannot and will not occur again. The resolution itself is pretty self-explanatory, so I ask for my colleagues' support tonight. Could you put it into oversight as well, please? Yes. Thank you. Motion to approve made by Councilor Lang, and please put in oversight, seconded by Councilor Campbell. On the motion, President recognizes Councilor DeBona.
Just quickly, Mr. President, I just want to thank you for bringing this forward onto the agenda tonight. Very important. Thank you. I'll be supporting this.
Thanks, Councilor DeBona. President recognizes Mr. Walker.
Through you, Mr. President, thank you for bringing this in. Certainly, the administration, the mayor, agree wholeheartedly with the sentiment and the spirit of cooperation that the resolve is meant to. I would, for the benefit of the body, be happy to report on some of the things that have taken place since these unfortunate incidents have occurred in the work that has gone on. In some ways, despite this being very troubling, unacceptable in a lot of ways, and personally difficult for a number of people involved in the city, there's a good story here, and it's how the city has handled this to date. I want to be clear that, first and foremost, this was a self-reported issue. This came to our office's attention through an internal source that there perhaps something amiss in that particular office. Within a very short amount of time period, within a day or two, we had fleshed out enough, brought it to the mayor's attention, and at that point, immediately buttons were pushed. At that point in time, the suspect individual was placed on leave. All his passwords and computer access was locked down. The Quincy Police Department and the City Solicitor's Office was immediately notified. The Quincy Police Department started an investigation immediately. The next morning, we briefed Director of Municipal Finance and Treasurer Collector Molly Smith on what had transpired, and that afternoon, we had the outside auditor beginning to be engaged on a full forensic audit, of which will be the subject of, I think, the end game of your resolution tonight would be a subject of having a discussion relative to that forensic audit. That work continued over the course of several months. The federal government, with cooperation with the Quincy Police Department, took over the investigation, provided mounds and mounds of documents to the federal government, providing all of the evidence that they needed to move forward with the case. Obviously, as everyone's seen, the case has resulted in an indictment, basically coming down to two things. One is theft, and in terms of that, while it didn't take us long to figure out, or it was identified by Treasurer Smith that the Kennedy Center, the senior center, was conducting its cash transactions in accordance with state guidelines and state law, there was money being stolen. And it took a trigger mechanism for that to reach the next level. And the second piece of this is fraud. There was fraud allegedly perpetrated on the city. And again, the forensic audit is going to see what kind of controls we have in place, what kind of controls we should be putting in place, and we're already moving on that. But ultimately, relative to the cash transactions, to start, we've already implemented new measures, again, that sort of buttress what was already in place, because again, there is a rationale, and it doesn't make it any more acceptable, and it doesn't mean we don't look at these things, and it doesn't mean we don't take a step back and do some self-reflection on how we can do things better. But there is, you will hear it from time to time that when someone or some entity is intent on committing fraud and committing theft, the controls aren't always going to stop that. And that's in part what we have here. But confident going forward that the results of this forensic audit will show where any improvements need to be, will show that largely the public can have great confidence in the financial controls around the city, and the fact that we discovered it, fleshed it out, got it to the right place, and nipped it at its source. I think, despite the fact that we certainly acknowledge that there's going to be some work going forward, that everyone's doing the right thing, everyone did the right thing, and we're happy to move forward together with this body on working through that.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I appreciate that. At this point, you said the independent forensic audit is completed or in process?
In process. I think it's very close to completion. I think we have some draft material. There is a question of at what point that becomes good to go in terms of having a discussion publicly. We are, there's a federal court case involved here, and we want to clear whatever we discuss with the U.S. Attorney's Office to make sure we're on solid ground. Don't want to implicate anything that we discuss publicly with the case that they've been trying to build.
Okay. Well, thank you. And obviously, at some point, ideally in the near future, we'd like to hold a presentation, hearing, what have you, of the findings from that report. And we probably want to bring in the treasurer, any of the related parties who are knowledgeable about what took place and the policies that have been changed. Thank you.
Sure.
Motion to approve made by Councillor Liang and seconded by Councillor Campbell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councillor Ash. Yes. Councillor Campbell.
Yes.
Councillor Devine.
Yes.
Councillor DeBona.
Yes.
Councillor Harris. Yes. Councillor Liang. Yes. Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Minton. Yes. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Number 6, 2025-010, a gift for $10,000 from Copeland Family Foundation, Inc. to DARE.
Motion approved made by Councillor DeBona, seconded by Councillor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councillor Ash. Yes. Councillor Campbell. Yes. Councillor Devine.
Yes.
Councillor DeBona.
Yes.
Councillor Harris. Yes. Councillor Liang. Yes. Councillor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councillor Minton. Yes. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
7, 2025-011, a gift for $2,735.80 from various.
Motion to approve made by Councillor McCarthy, seconded by Councillor DeBona. Please call the roll.
Councillor Ash.
Yes.
Councillor Campbell.
Yes.
Councillor Devine.
Yes.
Councillor DeBona.
Yes.
Councillor Harris. Councillor Liang. Yes. Councillor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councillor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And that concludes our regularly scheduled agenda items. Approval of previous meeting minutes. Motion to approve made by Counselor Lang, seconded by Counselor Devine. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Communications and reports from the mayor, other city officers, and city boards. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. We do have some traffic requests to refer to Ordinance Committee for Advertising. Ward 2, Counselor Ash. Add no drop-off pickup 7:45 to 8:45 a.m. and 2 to 3 p.m. on Germain Ave, Clifford Marshall. Add stop sign on Fowler Street at Lancaster Street. Add stop sign at both ends of Alton Street. Add stop sign at each end of Lowell Street. Add stop sign at St. James at Washington Street. Add handicap parking in front of 148 Franklin Street. Ward 4, Councilor Devine, add no parking on the odd side of Hayden Street from Willard Street to West Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Unfinished business and preceding meeting. Seeing none. Reports of committees. President recognizes Chair Harris.
Thank you. A public hearing was held prior to this evening's city council meeting on the following council orders: 2025-005, utility grant location, Mass Electric, Hannon Parkway, McConville Way. Positive recommendation from the Public Works Committee. Motion for approval.
Positive recommendation and motion approved made by Chair Harris, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ash. Councilor Campbell. Councilor Devine. Councilor DeBona. Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Councilor Liang. Councilor McCarthy. Councilor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Madam Clerk, all set? Chair Harris?
Yes, that's it.
Presentation of petitions, memorials, and remonstrance. President recognizes Councilor Liang.
Thank you. I just want to take an opportunity to recognize that next week is going to be Lunar New Year. It's the biggest holiday of the year for many in our community, certainly in my family. And, you know, it's really different for everyone, right, and how they celebrate. But I remember, for me at home, it was about 14 cousins coming together under one roof with all of our parents and really good food, but most importantly, especially as a kid, the red envelopes with the money inside. And so it's a really fun holiday filled with, again, just a lot of love and family, a lot of reflection. And so I just hope that for whoever is celebrating next week to enjoy, and just on behalf of the city, hope that everyone has a wonderful Tet in the Vietnamese culture and a wonderful Lunar New Year in the Chinese culture. And that just everyone has a happy and healthy and prosperous coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Liang. Happy New Year to you and your family.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, motions, orders, and resolutions. Seeing none. Scheduling of committee meetings and public hearings. Our next regularly scheduled council meeting is Monday, February 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Here, be here, or be square. Motion to adjourn made by Councilor Liang. Have a good night.